Hello and welcome to another Beverly's Break Room. Hello, wherever you are watching. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Instagram, and if you are joining us for the first time, hi, my name is Beverly. I am a chief operating officer who's been scaling operations for over a decade in over 10 fields, and I am your chief empowerment officer. And so, this break room, listen. This is where we get real about a lot of different topics relating to career, corporate, business, interviews, hiring processes, current events as it relates to the hiring market from the perspective of an expert, but also from getting your perspective as well, because this is our break room. All right. This isn't just mine. We're in this together. So if you are excited for what we're about to talk about today, please comment and make sure you interact, you heart, so that more and more folks can join our break room and have these real conversations. So excited to see y'all. So today's topic, how to get promoted at work. And this is the real talk conversation, not, what you're going to do is you're going to network. You're going to Okay, because you and I both know that getting promoted at work is a lot more intricate than just shaking hands, saying the right things, and being in the right places. While all of those things definitely help, there is a nuance to getting promoted at work. And I want to talk to y'all about what that is like. For those of you who are new joining us, Beverly's Break Room is broken down into real talk where I offer perspective. I also will be sharing reference content as to what prompted our topic today, and as well as your comments, and then we will have Q&A later on in our chat today. So stick around, especially if you have a question relating to this, because I want to answer it. So how to get promoted at work. Well, first of all, in order to know how to get promoted at work, I want to talk about something that a lot of leaders, a lot of career creators do not talk about, which is in order to get promoted, you have to know what type of promotion types there are. Because if you don't know how people are getting promoted and in what ways they get promoted, you're not going to know how to maneuver and make yourself nimble in the environment so that you are in the best place at the best time with the right people. But what does that actually look like? Recently, I posted a video talking about different promotion types at work, and y'all, the video is doing really well because I spilled the real tea, and I've got people in the comments who are like, "Oop, she's talking about it." So let me play really quick a bit of that clip so you can see what we're talking about today. Some of the real reasons why people actually get promoted, you would stop comparing yourself to them on this app, and most certainly at the workplace. You'd be looking at them with a jaundiced eye. Because not all promotions are created equal, but they don't want you to know that. They want you to be pining after these things when in reality, rejection is absolutely redirection. But if you don't know, then you're not gonna go. So I'm going to teach you how to play the corporate game, because you can't play the game if you don't know the rules. Hi, my name is Beverly. I'm Chief Operating Officer, having scaled operations for over a decade in over 6 fields. And this is how to play the corporate game, part 16, specific to types of promotions. Because y'all, listen, starting with the first one, sometimes they don't even like the people they promote. Yes. Sometimes a board member or a C-suite member or somebody up top will be like, hey, you're promoting that person. And the leaders or HR will be like, no, we're not. No, they're not ready. Or no, they haven't earned it. Or no, they haven't. You're promoting them. They're going to be promoted by next month. I have seen it so many times. So you're sitting at your desk like, wow, I maybe, what am I doing? I'm not working hard enough. You're doing just fine. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody, and they're pushing their influence to get that person, and they don't even want to promote them. This next one is the opposite. They like them. I mean, I know we know this, that sometimes it's right place, right time, right networking, right whatever. And that is the truth. Sometimes people just like people and they're like, you know what? I like you. You're promoted. You're sitting at your desk like, I'm working so hard. I'm doing, because you are working freaking hard. But sometimes it's a popularity contest, which I know you know. And this one probably pissed you off. I'm sorry. But that's the truth. Sometimes people just like people, but it has nothing to do with you. Stop comparing yourself. One is the out the door promo, which is specific to leaders who know that they are about to be out the door, but as an act of final self-preservation, they are going to promote people on their team for 2 reasons. 1, to redefine loyalty. Hey, don't forget who promoted you. Don't forget who was here. If you hear anything from leadership about me, or if they ask you any questions, it was me. It was me who was always looking out for you. They may have been a total jerk the entire time, but suddenly they are suddenly very, very nice. So I'm not going to show the whole thing because it's a bit of a longer video, but you get what I'm cracking at today. Listen, there are so many different ways in which promotions happen. And I want you to comment. If you are on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, comment if you knew about these promotion types. And if you've seen them yourself, please put in the comments if you've seen these yourself, because let me tell you, as long as I have been scaling in operations and working um as an operator in all these different industries, I have seen so many different promotion types come through. And you may think to yourself, right, because this is the narrative that's told to us, especially if you've gone to college or in high school, you're taught in career services about these standardized ways of being able to move up the corporate ladder, but those ways don't exist anymore. There's so much more nuance. And so as I share here in this video, yeah, there are some times where as a where I've seen in my career, where even I have experienced, where somebody who is higher up will say, um we're going to promote this person because of whatever it is in the best interest of that leader at that time. Or in another example that I share in the video, right? Sometimes people just like you. So what do you do, right? How do you ensure that you are always in the in crowd? If you are somebody who wants to be promoted at work, I cannot stress enough that as a chief operating officer, it is so much more nuanced than just networking. And I wish that more people would stop saying just network, just be, connect, because a lot of you are doing exactly what you need to be doing. It's just not, we're often given tools and environments where the language and the tools are constantly changing. So, what do we do about that? Well, I first want to talk about the Peter Principle. This was an amazing comment that was shared by one of my consistent community members on TikTok when I posted this video, where she said, I've learned this a lot of times to fire someone, they do the Peter Principle as well. Are you all familiar with the Peter Principle? And I want you to comment on Instagram if you've heard of this principle. Um, have you heard of the Peter Principle? The Peter Principle, okay, and I actually have a little graphic for you today. So I'm going to add this. The Peter Principle is in a hierarchy or at a company, every employee tends to rise to their level of incompetence, not competence, incompetence. So, what is an example of the Peter Principle? Let's say you are working alongside a coworker and they're crushing it. They're doing a great job. So they get promoted. Well, they've been promoted from maybe a junior engineer to now they're a mid level engineer and they're crushing it. Well, they keep crushing it. They're doing a great job. So 6 months later, they want to reward that engineer and they promote them again and they make them a senior engineer. So now they're feeling great. They're feeling like hot stuff. And maybe on top of that, they're networking well. So the team really feels like they're bought in and they want to reiterate their appreciation for that employee by promoting them again. But they've reached the highest they can as an independent contributor, maybe at that company, because if you're familiar with that scale, you can go as high as principal engineer. But let's say at that company, the highest you can go is senior engineer, but they really want to promote this person, right? Well, what if we made them a manager? Now they're leading people. I'm going to ask the audience, does everybody who get a promotion, should they be leading people? Should every person who gets promoted lead people? The answer to that is no. I think a lot of the reason why we have the issues that we have in corporate spaces and business in the US especially is because people are getting promoted who should not be getting promoted to leading people, right? But the company wants to recognize them and they want to celebrate them. And so what happens? Okay, well, this person gets placed into a leadership position. They're not prepared. They've never done a leadership training. They don't know how to lead people. They don't know what's left, right, or center. Well, what happens? Their team suffers. They're suffering because they haven't been equipped with the right tools in order to make this successful. And now people are unhappy because they're working alongside a manager who doesn't know, frankly, how to lead. There may be but they were previously very good. They are sufferers. They are victims of the Peter Principle because they were promoted all the way up until they're truly incompetent. But then what happens? That person now has that title, right? They now have that title. So what are they going to do? They're not going to go down. Now, sometimes people will say, listen, leadership isn't for me, and they'll transition into another role and that doesn't require people management. But I'm going to ask you a question. If you are in a position where even though you know you are incompetent at something, you know that you are even taking it further, a lot of employees and leaders alike who are placed into positions that they are not competent in may not even know that they're not competent in it because maybe they're being celebrated in these ancillary spaces at work. But what happens, right, when it's time for them to transition? Are they going to go down a peg to a lower role? No, they're not. They are not. They are going to take that title and take that compensation and take what they've gotten from this company that made them a victim of the and everybody else around them a victim of the Peter principle, and they're going to go somewhere else with that. So now this leader who is not really a leader, or this employee who's not skilled really to do the level that they're doing, are going and positioning themselves at other organizations where they may have higher standards, they may have higher expectations, the team might have higher expectations, you don't know, but then they get there and everyone else suffers. A really great comment that I see here in the chat is some are terrible at leading and actually hinder work morale. It hinders work morale when you have, again, employees and leaders alike who are incompetent at what they do, right? But a lot of the time, if the company doesn't have any other ways to celebrate you, right? They want to promote you, and they only know to push you up even before you're ready. It instills a sense of entitlement for those employees and for those leaders who are being celebrated. So when you go and you say, well, listen, I want to be promoted. I've been crushing it. Going back to subject, right? How do I get promoted? I'm doing great. I'm crushing it. I'm awesome. Sometimes not being promoted is protection. Let me use a very specific example from yours truly. If you are trying to be promoted at work, but you are not ready for that promotion, sometimes it is a good thing that you are not selected. And here is why. One time when I was growing very fast at an organization, very fast, the company was growing fast. We were all growing fast. So naturally, people were getting higher titles, higher pay as the company scaled, which was wonderful. I transitioned into a role that at the time we couldn't quite find the right fit for me, but they wanted to continue to uplift me because I was really crushing it and I was crushing my metrics. So they put me in this role, and um I was good at half of the job, right? And this is me being a self-aware leader, okay? I was good at half of the job. I was brought on in one role. By the time we got all said and done, I was put in as the director of customer experience and QA. And this is me being very transparent. I am a very tech savvy person. I have science degrees. I want it to be heavy in the tech stack, but there came a point where I had to look at myself and say, okay, the customer experience side, I'm crushing. I know I'm good at that. The operations behind that, because I have such a robust experience with operations, I get that. Where I was struggling, quality assurance. Why? Because I was expected to be doing test cases, coding within our sandbox environment and in our testing environments, and I did not have the experience. So here I am, I'm studying every night. It didn't mean that I didn't care. It didn't mean that I didn't value the role. It didn't mean that I wasn't fighting for my freaking life in this role, because I knew that I wanted to prove to myself and prove to my organization that I could do this. And I knew that I could. I knew that I could, but I wasn't they needed somebody skilled in QA now, yesterday. So what happens? We bring on 2 QA engineers. I'm leading them again from an operational standpoint. Can I lead any teams? I've led so many different teams. Yes. Can I? Yes. But it came a point where I had to take a step back and realize this is not a best fit for me, because it is going to put the team at a detriment for me to catch up technically. Well, could I catch up if I was super passionate about QA and coding and becoming a tech leader? Absolutely. Like, I believe that not only but you can set your mind and do anything you want to in your career. You can make any pivots you want in your career. Do not let anybody tell you that it's too late, that there's not enough time, that you have to F that, because I have pivoted in so many different careers and in so many different industries. I'm telling you, if you believe it, you can. So if I really sat there with myself and said, you know what, Beverly, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna become, I think I want to head into tech side. I want to leave operations. Okay, maybe I would have. But I realized that wasn't for me. I was actually better suited to help the company operations. But I came to that conclusion, right? So then when I came to that conclusion, I went to leadership and I said, hey, I don't think this is a good fit. And here's why. And I think that it's going to be a detriment later on to the team because they're going to be, and I'll never forget the CEO being like, well, we just wanted to, continue to give you more responsibility and celebrate your contributions. Where do you think you should be? And that's when, and let me know in the comments if you want me to tell this story about how I basically created a position at this company that did not exist. I was the first ever true director of operations at this organization because I said, no, this is actually a better fit. I did not allow myself to fall victim to the Peter principle because I said, ooh, because when the time came and they needed somebody to really be the leader of QA, I knew that in 6 months' time, would I be there? Maybe. But right now, when they really needed it, no. But a lot of leaders, a lot of employees, because I know I talk about leaders a lot on my platform, but this is employees alike. How many of you have worked with leaders that are incompetent and do not want to admit it? You know, and they know. You know they know that they're incompetent, but they do not want to admit it. Put it in the chat because that's what's so difficult, right? Is when you're working alongside folks who know that they got promoted either a little too fast or maybe they're missing a skill set. Doesn't mean that they can't get there, but it hinders your ability to do your job now because now you're spending your time trying to explain it to this person, do whatever, because they don't get it. Or worse, you're doing their work so that everything stays afloat, right? But that check feels nice, that title feels nice, and a lot of times they don't want to admit it because then if they do, they may be the next on the chopping block. So going back to form, right? How do you avoid this and also how do you promote yourself? Well, another thing I talked about is the at the end of the video, I talk about the Here Damn promotion. There's a bunch of different types of promotions, y'all. The Here Damn promotion is when, and this is where I think a lot of us fall victim to. I have fallen victim to this several times and it sucks. So I am telling you because I care for you, I care for this community. Do not allow yourself to be in this position. A Here Damn promotion, you may not even be realizing you're doing it in real time, is when you consistently go to leadership, right? You're going to leadership over and over again. Every 3 months, maybe in your one-on-ones every quarter, maybe every 2 quarters, you just keep going back to them and you're like, "Hey, I've been crushing it. I've been doing a great job. Here are my metrics. You've been doing everything right because I know you have. You've been crushing it." Maybe they even give you feedback and they tell you, we want to see more of this from you and then we'll talk about promotion and you do it and you come back and they keep moving the goalpost. So you stay in front of them because you learned, especially if you are first generation, if you're somebody who maybe didn't grow up with folks who are in corporate environments, business environments, but you learn that if I don't hustle for myself, closed mouths don't get fed. If I don't move quick, I'm not going to get an opportunity, right? So you hustle, you keep talking to them. And they finally say, "You know what? Here's your promotion." They give you the title, they give you the money, but it's not as much as you maybe thought it was going to be. And it is very much here, damn. A lot of people are sitting in here, damn roles without even realizing it because after they give you that title and that raise, they're not going to give you a promotion or raise for another 3, 4, 5 years, if not more. And a lot of people who work with me one on one, this has been their experience where they were hustling, they were grinding, they were self advocating, right? And then finally their company went here. And then every time afterwards where they tried to self-advocate, "Oh, nope, we promoted you," or "Oh, nope," they have some type of excuses as to why to move the goalpost. Okay. So that is one that is very common. And it hurts because you know it when you feel it. In my experience, in one of the occasions where this happened, it was getting to the point where they kept moving the goalposts so much at this one company I worked for earlier in my career. And finally, I was like, "Listen, I was very transparent. This is the roadmap that I expected. We're not on that roadmap." And they said, "Well, Beverly, maybe you're just moving a little too fast." Then you become the problem because you're self advocating for what you feel you deserve. right? So, moving toxicity out of the way, how do you get promoted at work? Real talk. Well, we've identified a couple of ways that companies promote and a couple of ways you want to avoid. You want to avoid the here damn promotion. You want to avoid the promotion that is you being promoted just so that so your leader can protect their arse, right? You want to avoid those. But real talk, we're going to first start with networking. Yesterday, during our break room time, I talked a little bit about this and I posted some videos and I got some very interesting comments. Because when I talked about networking, I specifically stated that amongst senior leadership, now again, I've been a senior leader now for many years, several years, and I've been rising the ranks for over a decade. So I've seen with my eyes how this game is played. So I hope that you are ready to take some notes because I'm about to spit some real game here. Okay. And if you want to watch the recap of this, you can find it on YouTube. Okay. The first thing you need to understand about getting promoted at work is when you are surveying the lay of the land, who you think is in charge is often not the person who is in charge. Titles be damned. I cannot tell you how many times in my career what has helped me scale faster than my peers, and they might have been there longer, they might have maybe had bigger projects, but what made me move faster is I was able to quickly identify who the real decision makers were at my workplace. And here's a couple ways that you can discern this for yourself in your work environment in ways that maybe you didn't know. The first is I want you to think about, and if you are, let me back up and say, if you are somebody who is in the job search process, this is critical your first 90 days. Critical to do. When you walk into, your workspace or if it's virtual, I want you to pay attention to A, who is the person who is regularly communicating out objectives and business focus for the organization. Sometimes it's the COO, sometimes it's the CEO, sometimes it's a director, sometimes it's who's that person who's regularly tapped in and communicating outwardly to the company what the goals are, objectives are, right? I'm going to come back to that person. The second person I want you to look out for is who is the company connector. Okay. Now, this person is not the class clown. They're not the personality hire, although they can have a robust personality. But this is the person who you notice people go to because they're able to quickly fix problems or they're trusted by the team. This person is often somebody who maybe has worked there a long time, so they have a lot of internal knowledge about the company's practices. Who is the person that folks turn to when they're like, "Oh no, if you want something to get done quick, you go to this person." Okay? The third type of person I want you to look for at the organization is the person who you see coming and going out of the CEO and COO and CFO and CCO's office the most. Is that the executive assistant? The is it the head of HR? Is it the head of sales? Who's the person that you notice is regularly engaging with many leaders, not just one, not just the CEO? These are three examples, and there's more. So let me know in the comments if you want me to do a future video about this or content on this, because there are a lot of ways you can see who these folks are because they change depending on your industry and the company you work for. But pay attention because I have been the company connector person at almost every, not all, but almost every organization I've worked for, I have been that person. Where because I am a problem solver, I am a tactical person. I don't like a lot of fluff. Do I like a good time? Absolutely. Do I hang out? Yes. Do I socialize? Absolutely. But I am there to tactically create systems that make the company run, right? That's what an operator does. And I build systems to ensure that the systems that we built previously stay intact. So we don't have to keep going back to previous issues, right? I remove bottlenecks, I remove linchpins. That is what I do. So in order to be that person, I have to get buy-in from every department. They not only have to feel bought in from me, but they also have to feel that they can trust me because I'm also the person. Oftentimes, the COO is supervising the HR team. I am also the person who is mitigating problems before they even get to the CEO. I cannot tell you how many fires I snuff out before they even have a chance to alight. So, smart people, just like you, because now I'm giving you this game, right, for free. People who knew this and picked it up, they stuck very close to me. They would invite me out to grab coffee. They would stay close. And of course, I believe that it was genuine as well. And in different companies I've worked for, I do. But I also know that they knew that if they were in range with me and they were to, and this has happened where stuff was happening at the organization and there was one narrative that was going out, and they would go, "Hey, Beverly, would you like to grab lunch?" Sure. And they would ask me, well, do you have any specific, further insights as to how my specific department or my specific role? Because they knew that I really knew the tea. Now, the reality of my role is that in order to be a senior leader in this capacity, I can't just go spouting off all of the company secrets, right? But there are nuances. For example, if you find that this person at your company is somebody that's approachable and you're starting to build a network with them and nurture that relationship, you absolutely can say, "Hey, I saw at the all hands meeting that our goal next month is to do XYZ. My team and I are really working on this. Do you feel like this is still in alignment, or is there anything where I can continue to develop professionally to help?" You can absolutely have conversations relating to public knowledge as well because they'll still guide you. They'll be excited, right? By you parlaying that. So this goes into the first piece of advice. When your company is having team wide meetings, I know for a lot of folks, if you are not in leadership, it can often be like, why are we in this meeting? Right? Because a lot of times it feels so far away from what you're doing. Even though you know that your contributions, hopefully, you know that your contributions are valuable because they are. But a lot of times it feels like, okay, yeah, right? But if you look at those metrics that they're sharing or what their goals are, because they tell you a lot of times leadership are very transparent about what their goals are. And you see something that is either a gap or an opportunity that you could step forward and do, find that connector or find that person you've been networking with internally and start speaking to the metrics at the organization and how you want to be a part of accelerating that. And it's casual. A very specific example is, hopefully, you know who this person is, or you can start thinking about it now. You're sitting at coffee with them, or maybe you're having a virtual happy hour with them in whatever medium. And you can literally say, you know, I'm really excited about the objectives that were shared in the all hands this month about what we're going to be prioritizing next quarter. One of the things I noticed is that there's really an investment on professional development, specific to sales pipeline and so on and so forth. I know I work in the marketing department. However, I do believe that it's beneficial for me to understand what our expectations are for the sales pipeline because it also can help inform the copy as my team and I are working on. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, a lot of folks do not put two and two together, right? So now that leader is like, yes, absolutely. You know what? Let's get you some additional training. Let's get you. Now you are seen as somebody who is on the ball, who's in alignment, as leadership likes to say, right? Without you having to be extra, right? You found a way to parlay their objectives with yours. Another tactic to get promoted at work is branding. I have many folks who work with me one on one because when I tell you your branding, no matter if you are a leader or if you are an independent contributor, your branding, especially in 2026, is critical. And here is why. I have seen people be passed up for promotions because they of the perception that their brand, meaning, do they go to conferences? Do they network? Do they are they invested in their professional development? Are they regularly getting certifications? This is not about you being fake and going out and doing stuff you don't want to do. I've seen people get promoted who had their own personal brands because they had columns on Substack that they maintained that were gaining traction, that people were quoting. They had a network of folks who appreciated their knowledge leadership. This can be authentic to you. And if you want guidance and support, I'll talk at the end about how we can make that happen together. But it's about, literally, is this person able to either bring in opportunity? Are they somebody that we feel confident because of their personal brand that they're going to go out and represent the company well? Sometimes it's that too. So if you have been keeping your head down because you're crushing it, right? And you haven't been thinking about, and like, I know I'm going to say the L word. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the L word. I know, LinkedIn. We're not, I know, I know, I know. But I'm saying, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Substack, Medium, there are people who have their own websites. There's folks who have their own portfolio sites. There are, listen, right? It doesn't have, it can be whatever medium you want. But I have seen it with my own eyes where people who have cultivated, they go to conferences and they post about their conferences, or they post articles about, or they publish research studies. I've worked with people who don't have really much of a social media platform at all. But what are they doing? They are presenting their work at um at conferences because they published a research paper on their on best practices. And let me tell you, right? All of that looks good and feels good to the organization. So if you are cultivating that on the side, they're going to want to talk to you. They're going to be excited to elevate you because it's going to make you look good. It's going to make them look good. Everybody's going to be happy. So start thinking now about, what are, in 2026, what are some tactical things I could start doing to promote my personal brand that is not overtaxing, right? You have a job, you have a life, you have whatever you got going on, right? Um, but is something that can demonstrate my own unique knowledge leadership, because this protects you in a lot of ways. If you are sharing your own knowledge leadership, y'all, it makes it harder for these organizations to take credit for your genius. Because if you start cultivating a base of people, like I said, you could just have a newsletter that you post on Substack that amasses thousands of people. That could be the only place that you are publicly facing. So, but if you have these methodologies that folks are coming to you for, right? That can be leveraged later when you are seeking to be promoted. And it protects you because in the event that there's a layoff, there's something else, you have that to fall back on. You have your community, you have, and we can talk more about that later too. A third way that you can real talk get promoted, real talk. I need y'all to maximize social gatherings. I got a couple comments on a reel I posted today that was from a recap of yesterday about, should you tell folks about PTO, should you network, whatever. And I've gotten some spicy comments back. Some people are not too happy that I have been real with y'all about, I don't make up the rules. I'm just trying to educate folks who are often gate kept from this, right? Networking is a part of the game. So if you want to be promoted, you have to be likable to leadership. But how do you do that while still maintaining authenticity? When you see the happy hours, the virtual game nights, I'm begging you, put it in your calendar. Okay? Put it in your calendar as an event once a month, however frequency you can do it, but make yourself visible. There was a time where I was working at a company. There was an employee who was not, even if you don't want to get promoted at work, I need you to hear this story. Because if you want to have your job saved, or if you want to be promoted at work, you got to hear this tale. I worked at an organization where an employee was about to be cut. They were decent at their job from what I understood. They were good enough, right? But the company was looking for somebody who was a bit more, they were like faster at the job. It was something that not necessarily arbitrary, but they were just looking at somebody who was a bit more experienced and faster. Could the person do the job? Yes. Were they doing it decently enough? Yes. But they were looking for somebody who like really would push because this person, they had a life, they had whatever. But they were about to fire this person. Y'all, this person also was frequent at happy hours, and leadership really liked them. They came to social events. They came to conferences. They were the first people to volunteer to represent the organization at conferences when everyone else would give, reasons why that were valid, but they would give reasons as to why they couldn't come. Whose job was saved when they riffed the department? That person was still sitting in their seat. Their entire department got cut. But them, because leadership had gotten enough exposure to this employee that they liked them. They felt that they represented the company well, and they decided to give this employee another chance. Meanwhile, this employee had no freaking clue this was happening behind closed doors. Again, I'm a senior leader, so I am sitting in these rooms with these C-suite who are trying to decide what to do about them. But the people who were arguing for them were like, no, they're the first people to vote. Nope, nope, nope. They get it. They get the culture. Nope, we can't cut them. So I understand the inclination to be like, nah, it's not a damn bit. No, I'm going to keep to myself and keep me. I get it. But I have literally seen people get saved from the chopping block because they were visible. Now there's a balance to strike. Should you be constantly visible and constantly no. And as somebody who burnt out very early and very consistently in my career because I was constantly making myself available to senior leadership because I was being rewarded for going against my boundaries. Listen, as somebody who lived that experience, but I cannot listen, y'all. Put it in your calendar. You want to know about how to get promoted at work? Real talk that they're not going to tell you. Make yourself visible. Put it in your calendar and reframe it for yourself as this is my way of creating security for myself. Now, you and I both know that security is fictitious in any business environment, right? But this is a way that helps because if you're networking, it's authentic, you're showing up, you're consistent. I don't care if you think it's a little silly. If they have a karaoke night, they have a game night, go and consider it a part of your business strategy. Okay. And make sure when you're there, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on different ways to network because they're how to maximize those spaces because there's a lot to do there. But go put it in your calendar. I've seen people be promoted because they were visible. I've seen people be saved from the cutting block. And y'all, I have seen people be fired in my career because they weren't visible. And it gave the perception to leadership like that employee wasn't bought in. And in this hiring market, especially if you're part of my community, you want to be successful. And I know this because people who are following me, they're looking for the real tips. They're looking for the real tea. They want to be successful no matter what industry. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be whatever, no matter what you want to do, you want to be successful. You're claiming that for yourself, right? And if you want to be successful in corporate, y'all, I'm telling you, visibility. Okay. Those are the three things I'm going to impart upon you. Okay. Now, before we jump into Q&A, I've got a quick message from our sponsors, and then we will jump right on in. So if you've got some questions, start putting them in the chat now. Today's episode is sponsored by Create the Door. If you've ever felt stuck undervalued, or unseen in your personal or professional journey, Create the Door will show you how to break the cycle for good. Beverly Dines, a powerhouse leader in creative force, shares her 8-step framework for manifesting success. Whether you're pivoting careers, chasing a dream, or tired of waiting for someone to let you in, combining real-world strategy, data-driven insights, and personal stories, Create the Door teaches you how to identify your true capital W why, leveraging your hidden skills, and build a life where opportunities don't just happen, you make them. Create the Door is available now at beverlydines.com and Amazon. This episode is also sponsored by Foxy. Ever felt like you want to be more creative, but something is holding you back? Maybe it's fear, perfectionism, or the belief that you're just not artistic. Foxy is here to help you break through those barriers. Foxy is an online art education platform that helps you explore your creativity in a safe, supportive environment. Founded by passionate educators, that creativity isn't just about making art, it's about living a more fulfilling life. With step-by-step courses, creative exploration classes, and a community that gets it, Foxy gives you the tools and confidence to tackle not just the technical skills, but the mindset challenges that keep you feeling stuck. Whether you're at a complete beginner level or looking to try something new, Foxy makes creativity accessible, and check them out at foxy.com and start your creative journey today. Okay, so we are going to start with Q&A. By the way, if before we jump into Q&A, if you would like to work with me directly, y'all, you can. I have openings as early as mañana. A couple of spaces opened up on my schedule. So if you would like to work together, let me tell you all real quick about how we can, because a lot of folks don't know that we can work together. Okay. So, if you go to my website, beverlydines.com, I have 3 categories. I have a category for if you're looking for a job. I have a category if you're trying to go in your current role, grow in your current role, and I have a category for if you are an executive looking to grow. So if you are in the job search right now, I have a ton of resources to support you, including this is a new offering, a mock interview mastery session. It is 3 sessions with me where you get to be interviewed by a hiring manager who literally has led almost every department you can imagine: marketing, engineering, product, sales, operations, HR, recruitment, risk, customer success, project management, like you name it, I have. I also have the Hiring Market Hack Pack, which is 3 sessions to help you revamp your resume, your LinkedIn, get your brand story together, notes and questions that you want to ask, any pivots that you want to make. And all of my packages are payment plan eligible for as much accessibility as possible. So head to my website, or if you aren't quite ready to jump full tilt boogie in and you want to see if we are a right fit, book that empowerment session with me, y'all, so that we can have a session together. We can decide if we're a good fit, but most importantly, you get tactics immediately. And every person who books an empowerment session with me gets a documentation write up that is specific to your situation and use case so that you have everything you need to feel successful. All of this is available at beverlydines.com. And the same thing goes if you're looking to grow in your role. Maybe you are not looking for a job, but you are looking to grow. I got a ton of stuff for you here too. So that is my website. And we're going to go into some Q&A. So, let me see. What there, I got a couple of questions here, right? So, one person asked, okay, but how do I be likable and just keep my job and not get bullied? Just get to a point where I can get a job where I'm left alone. This is a really real thing, right? What's important for you to remember is not everyone wants to be a CEO. Not everybody wants to scale really fast in their career. A lot of people just want to be left the heck alone. And if that's you, if you want to be somebody who is left alone in your career, you're not fighting for opportunities, you're not trying to scale fast, you just want to do your job, clock in, clock out. You make that decision for yourself so that you can move accordingly, because there are nuances to operating that way that are very different than somebody who is networking to scale. And you do have to do a little bit of networking, even if you want to keep your head down. The same principles apply that I shared earlier in this live on how to get promoted if you are still trying to keep your head down. But here's what you do. If you just want to be likable, you are going to excel then at those events. Once a month, put on your calendar. Okay, there's a happy hour, there's a cookie making class, or there's a this or a that. That's going to be your space to show up and be present. Remember, presence is important. People have recency bias. So if they continuously see you, doesn't matter if you are um uh you know shaking hands with everybody, whatever, the visibility is important. So be likable. The other thing is break room politic. We're in Beverly's break room, but this politic is real. Find somebody or two people at your organization that you don't mind that you'd like to invite to lunch. Ask them if they want to grab a coffee in the morning. That really aids you when eventually you might have a little lunch crew. This has helped me a lot in my career where suddenly I looked up, I had a bit of a coffee crew, a bit of a lunch crew where now we're starting to come together, and then you look up and you've got allies without even really having to try too hard. So those are two areas where you can, you know, connect with folks in intentional ways that make you likable, because you are likable first and foremost, but also where you also may get left alone because you're not really pushing it too hard, but you're making sure that it's clear that you're in the mix, you're networking, right? Someone said, what if CEOs are giving themselves ridiculous pay raises so they can promote their entire departments so they can self preserve their team in case they get fired? Well, let me tell you, obviously this happens all the time. I recently did a video about the Tyson CEO who had a 30, I think it's like he makes 35 times the lowest level employee at Tyson. And a lot of CEOs operate this way. I believe that there absolutely should be conversation around like equity. Like I personally would never feel comfortable if I know I'm making such a gross amount and my team can't pay their bills. Like there's a if I'm in a position of power, right? But as we know, we've got work to do. All right. So what do? Well, if you notice that leadership is patting their pockets, and maybe somebody is giving you intel that leadership is patting their pockets, that actually might be a sign that something's wrong at the organization. A lot of times, if you see them selling stock or they're getting bonuses and they're talking about the bonuses that they're getting, but it's like all happening in succession, either A, they might be raising around financially, and that's a good sign. That means that they're growing, or B, something's going wrong. And so then in that case, you want to get your pivot plan ready because they may be announcing rifts soon. Somebody asked, thank you. Is it worth investigating why a promotion is happening or better to just stay focused on your personal career goals? This is a little tricky because if you have a good relationship with your supervisor, I absolutely recommend asking them, right? Okay, can you help me understand what was it about my recent work that really, compelled you to promote me? Or in the opposite way, if they are not promoting you and you feel like you've been doing everything right, but you have a decent relationship with your supervisor, absolutely you are empowered to say, hey, I really feel like I've been crushing it the last 6 months. And I couldn't help but notice there seems to be, folks in my department are also being recognized. Is there anything that I can do to be promoted? Is there anything that they're doing differently that I should be maximizing? Absolutely, you can ask that question. And good leaders will say, yes, this is exactly what we really want to see. Or they'll say, maybe they were on a different promotion track. They'll be transparent with you. Poor leaders will either be nebulous, meaning that they won't tell you any reason, and then you're stuck with like no direction. That is a red flag. It's a crimson flag for you to start getting your plan to get the heck out of there. But also if they don't give you any rationale as to why you were promoted, they're like, we just think you're killing it, we think you're great, we want to promote you. That is a good sign. That means that you're likable. That means that they feel you're in cahoots, for lack of a better way to say it, that you're in alignment. And so keep doing what you're doing. But if you'll feel it, this person commented on the video that I had shared, and I talk about in the video, the Here Damn promotion, you feel it. If you've ever received a Here Damn promotion, you feel it. I've received 2 in my career and you know it every time. So trust that instinct. If there's something that feels a little fishy about your promotion or doesn't quite feel right, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. I'm now looking at the Instagram comments here. How do I connect with a boss that only wants to know/discuss personal business, relationships, kids, etc.? All other topics are boring to them. Well, I don't mean to laugh at this because I have experienced this, and I think what's funny is, for a lot of people, especially older folks where they have kids and they got, house and they got, you know, their kids are their world or their dogs are their world or their um and uh, I have absolutely been in that situation where every single day I have walked in and, leaders are like, "Hey, look at what my kids did." Or, "Hey, look, what my, hey, my baby just walked," or my whatever. That is really common, especially if you are rising the ranks yourself. I mean, they're going to want to talk about personal stuff. Going back to something I mentioned in the last Beverly's break room, which is knowing what your limits are or aren't. If your limits are not to talk about family, you do not feel comfortable talking about family at work, you are not obligated to talk about family at work. However, what do people also consider family? Pets. One way that I have worked around this is by talking about my dog. And what do people love? Pets and dogs and cats. And so I have pictures at the ready. I literally will have a folder of pictures at the ready that I will be like, "Oh, you know what? Look at this cute thing my dog did." And they'll go, "Oh my gosh, that was good." I don't want to blow out the mic, but they love it. They eat it up. So find those things that are adjacent. Maybe it's not, you can say, "Oh, I love that. That's so cute." It actually have they seen the new episode of Bluey? Have they seen Coco? Find things that are related to those personal things that are in a safe range for you, right? Like, "Oh, I really feel like you'd like this movie I watched recently about the animation behind Bluey and like how it came to be." Maybe your daughter can watch, or your son can watch that. You can find ways to still engage with topics that feel safe to you without having to also divulge your personal information. So there's a bunch of different connecting points there. Like, one time I had uh, a senior leader, he was talking about his babies. I don't have children yet, right? And so I said to them, like, "Oh, I really feel like, have you watched them on YouTube? They're now on YouTube. Like, I used to watch Barney growing up. Did you have you shown them any old school, like, cartoons or old school TV shows?" And they lit up and they were like, "Oh, I didn't even think of that. Like, that's such a good idea." And now we were talking about, all the things that I used to watch as a kid. I was comfortable with talking about that. But, I could tell that a couple other times they were asking, "When are you and your husband trying? When are you in the," that's not their business. It's not their business. Don't ask me about that. But I did feel comfortable talking about the other elements. So that's one way. Those are a couple of ways that you can navigate that. Do I help with LinkedIn? Absolutely. 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 Especially if you grab that hiring market hack pack with me, we cover it all. Resume, LinkedIn, and it isn't just me doing it for you. I'm an empowerment officer, so I'm an educator. We go together and figure out your brand story together. We revamp it together. And on top of that, I give you a dossier. Each session you have with me comes with a tactical write up with roadmap, next steps, and action items so that you know exactly what to do and what we discussed and how to do it. All the things you can see it there on the website, but absolutely. Um, so those are some tactics there. What if it's all remote? You can't have lunch with them, or can you virtually? This is a great question. How do I get promoted if everybody is remote and they're not near me? Well, there's a lot of ways that you can still stay visible at your organization. If you have a Slack channel or Teams, whether it's Slack or Teams, you absolutely can spin up channels based off of mutual interests. I have done this. I love K-pop. And if I were to turn my thing up here, you can't see my twice stuff, but I've got Sailor Moon, I've got all my special interests up there. Um, I love K-pop. And so when I realized at kind of chatting, I saw some folks in the Slack channel, some of those folks were remote who were using BTS and different other K-pop groups chat emojis in response to other leaders on the team. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And so we started talking on the side about K-pop, and then that bled into anime. And the next thing I knew, we had spun up all these different channels where we were engaging, networking, connecting over mutual interests. And it was all all virtual. It was with employees from all over the world. And so that is one way that you can do so very easily without going above and beyond. You now have actually a space you can look forward to at work that is in relation to something you genuinely like and like to talk about. And it was so much fun because we would share music videos we were looking at, or who's watching this anime. I've just been watching this. Oh, yeah. Or books. We had a book channel. So if you can spin that up, and it also helps with team morale. Another thing you can do if you work virtually, you absolutely can do virtual coffees. I am a huge fan of virtual coffees, especially because they're low maintenance. And as a leader, I love it when employees ask me for a virtual coffee because like that means I don't have to go anywhere. I can grab my tea, I can grab my stuff, and sit down comfortably and have a conversation and not feel on because I had to travel and then I had to deal with, parking or having to get the Uber or whatever it is, right? So that it's nice, right? In that regard. The second reason why it's great is because it also gives you the opportunity to have notes next to you so that if you are, having a coffee chat with a leader and you're trying to, be in front of them so that they can see that you're really committed to growth. You can have some prepared questions there to the right of you that you can say, I actually wanted to make the best use of your time while we're together, and I wanted to pick your brain about a couple things if that's okay. A lot of leaders are going to be happy that you came prepared because I can tell you that I've had folks who have wanted to meet with me, whether that be for virtual coffee or in-person coffee, and they have no clue what they want to talk about, but they want to be in front of me. So then I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the millions of things I got to do, and they're sitting there and I can tell that they're trying to fill the gap. Now luckily, like I've been there, so I'm like, okay, well, let's try, is there anything you're interested in, or is there anything you want to know? And then that kind of, pulls the conversation together. But I also have loved it when folks have been like, Beverly, I really wanted to meet with you. I do have some questions though about how I can be better at da 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 da. Yeah, let's talk through it. I see some K-drama love in here. I love this. Love, love, love me some freaking K-dramas. Okay. Absolutely. Love me some K-dramas. And you get it, right? If there are things that you love to talk about, and this could also be a great segue too, because I've seen it where if you created these chats and senior leaders in those chat rooms. I've been at where C-suite have been in these chat rooms. They love anime too. They love K-pop. They love J-pop. They love so now, or they love books, or they love TV or sports or whatever it is, right? I've seen this. And so now you actually have a connection point. So when you go to ask them about that virtual coffee date or that in-person coffee date or that lunch, you can even open it up with, okay, you got to tell me, did you see the most recent episode of dot, 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 dot? You now have an inroad with them that feels safe, that feels in alignment, and also feels natural to you and to them, where it's going to blossom that conversation a lot more fruitfully than maybe you jumping straight into questions you have for them or waiting awkwardly for them to guide. So those are some ways that you can navigate that earnestly and network intentionally too. Um, An example of this iffy promotion is in the movie Witness Protection by Tyler Perry. This guy was promoted to CFO with no CFO. Woo, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Listen, it happens all the time. Um, and that goes going back to Peter's principle. So, make sure that when you are trying to get promoted, right, that you are doing what you can to ensure that it is in alignment. Sometimes, and this is like real talk. This is real talk. I was somebody who was pushing, 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 pushing because I knew I was going to be a COO by the time I was 30. And that is what happened. Right. But I will admit, even looking back now, there were some times where I was really pushing for a promotion and I really wasn't ready yet. Now would I admit that? Well, now this is going to be on my YouTube and everywhere. Would I admit that back then? No, because I was determined. And I'm very grateful for the leaders who are like, Beverly, we get it. You're crushing it. You're excelling, and there's some gaps here and there and there. And I've always been a learner. I've always been willing to, you know, grow so that I can be the best I can possibly be. And so when I got that feedback from trusted leaders and mentors, I was like, oh, okay, let me cool it for a second. So there's that too. If you have somebody you trust at your company who's like, we think you're great, we also need to see more of this and this and this. That's a blessing. Listen to them because they're trying to help you without telling you directly why they didn't promote you. Take that feedback, apply it, do whatever search you got to do whatever they'll tell you indirectly or directly where they're like, we're really looking for somebody with this, especially for internal positions. They may say, we're really looking for somebody with X, or we're really looking for Y, or whatever it is. And that's a good opportunity for you to jump in and be like, okay, this is what I need to focus on. This is what I need to study. So those are some avenues as well. Um, you all are a lively chat. Thank you all so, so much for being on tonight. Like I said before, and I'm going to share this every night. Remember, this is Sundays through Thursdays at 6 p.m. Beverly's Break Room. Be here or be squared. Where we are talking the real talk and putting you on game so that you can go out here and have the career that you deserve, get the opportunities you deserve, and really play this game, because it really is a game and you can't play the game if you do not know the rules. And like I said before, I saw some folks who took the opportunity last night to book some sessions with me. Y'all, I am a resource, right? I'm a resource for you. I want to support you. There's a ton. I've got classes, I've got career kits, but let me remind you, if you want to work with me directly, especially I have a package called How to Play the Corporate Game, where we will break that down together. And again, all of my offerings are payment plan eligible. So if you want to work together, let's work together, because it is my favorite thing to do, to work one on one and be able to support you intentionally with where you are looking to go in your career, no matter where that is. If you're trying to pivot, if you're trying to get an opportunity, wherever that is that you are looking to go, I am here to support you on that journey. Um, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen really quick. Any final questions before we close for today's Beverly's Break Room? And thank you all so much for being on. I'm really excited about this platform and its growth and what we're doing. So, any final questions before we close? Ooh, I tried to get to Sunday Scaries, but the link didn't work. Thank you for letting me know. My team and I will look into it, because we did notice that yesterday there were some folks who were having trouble the getting into the Sunday Scaries live. So we will take a look at that so that you can be there next time. But in the interim between then and now, like I said, head to beverlydines.com. If you have more questions on how to be promoted at work, listen, I'm here to support. I hope everyone has an amazing night. I will see you tomorrow for another episode of Beverly's Break Room, and we will chat then. All right, y'all. Have a really great night. Thank you guys.